Your car's suspension works quietly in the background, soaking up bumps and keeping every drive stable. Yet most drivers overlook it until repairs become expensive. With the right habits, you can protect these parts, save thousands, and keep your ride smooth for years. Want to know the secrets mechanics rarely tell you? We've got your covered. Number 9. Driving habits destroy suspension parts. Your suspension is built to take punishment, but it is not indestructible. Driving aggressively on rough or uneven roads speeds up wear faster than most people realize. One study compared how long coil springs lasted in different conditions. On a rough road, the springs failed after only 1,200 cycles. On a flat road, they endured over 19,000 cycles before showing the same damage. That difference translates to less than 2 years of life if you regularly pound over potholes, compared with more than 2 decades if you stick to smoother roads or ease off the throttle. The costs add up quickly. Replacing all 4 coil springs can run around $1,400. Lower suspension arms, another component that suffers on rough terrain, fail after just 3,500 cycles when abused, but they can endure millions of cycles under gentle driving. Replacing a single arm averages $550, and you have one at each corner. Put it all together, and careless driving can add up to $3,600 in repairs every few years. The takeaway is simple. You need to drive with restraint, especially when the pavement is bad. Treat your suspension with care, and it will last for decades instead of draining your wallet. And one repair bill climbs fast when drivers delay wheel alignment. Number 8. Wheel alignment protects suspension health. Many drivers hesitate when their mechanic recommends a wheel alignment, often fearing it is just another upsell. In fact, surveys show that about 70% of car owners suspect they are being scammed on this service, which leads more than a third of drivers to put it off for weeks at a time. That delay is where the real damage begins. Even a small misalignment, as little as 2 millimeters, forces your tires to roll at improper angles. The result is uneven tread wear, reduced traction, and added strain on suspension parts that were never designed to handle the imbalance. Ball joints, wheel bearings, tie rods, and control arms all begin to take extra stress, while struts and shocks work overtime to keep the car steady. Over time, the suspension geometry itself can fall out of alignment, setting off a chain of failures. The price difference between prevention and repair is striking. A professional alignment costs around $150, while ignoring the issue can lead to bills in the hundreds or even thousands. The smart move is to take advantage of free alignment checks during oil changes or tire rotations, and never let doubt keep you from protecting your suspension. Protection also means tightening bolts before vibrations shake them loose. Number 7. Loose bolts. Wreck suspension systems. Suspension bolts may not look like much, but they hold everything together. Over time, the constant vibrations from daily driving slowly loosen them, even if they were torqued correctly at installation. The effect is amplified if you frequently travel on unpaved roads or enjoy off-roading. Loose bolts are more than a minor annoyance. They stress bushings and ball joints, throw off alignment, and cause uneven tire wear. In extreme cases, they can even crack the frame or lead to parts separating completely, creating the perfect recipe for an accident. The good news is that prevention is simple and inexpensive. Whenever you rotate your tires, usually every 5,000 to 8,000 miles, have the suspension bolts retorqued. It costs around $100, but compared to the thousands you could spend on replacing damaged suspension parts or the danger of a catastrophic failure, it is money well spent. Regular bolt checks keep your suspension strong, your tires lasting longer, and your car safe on the road. Clean parts also last longer, especially against salt and corrosion. Number 6. Clean suspension parts. To prevent corrosion, suspension parts may be built from durable steel and alloys, but they are constantly exposed to the harshest conditions on the road. Dirt, debris, and especially road salt cling to the undercarriage and act like slow-working acid, eating away at protective coatings. Over time, corrosion weakens shocks, springs, and control arms, turning once strong parts into brittle metal prone to cracks or failure. This risk is greatest in regions with wet winters or near the ocean, where salt is unavoidable. Drivers who regularly travel on gravel or muddy roads also face accelerated wear. The fix is straightforward. Wash the undercarriage often, not just the visible body panels. Many car washes offer an underbody spray specifically designed to flush away salt and grime. For those who do it at home, a pressure washer or even a strong hose stream works well. Routine cleaning prevents buildup, extends the life of protective coatings, and slows the spread of rust. It also makes inspections easier, since clean components show signs of wear or leaks more clearly. Spending a few extra minutes to rinse the undercarriage can save thousands in suspension repairs and keep your car driving safely for years. But all that cleaning means little if you overload your vehicle. Number 5. Extra weight destroys suspension. Overloading a car may seem harmless in the moment, but the damage it causes builds quickly. Whether it is piling luggage on every available surface or squeezing too many passengers into the back seat, the result is the same. Your suspension has to carry weight it was never designed for. The dampers, which control movement and keep the ride stable, are especially vulnerable under excess load. Constant strain reduces their lifespan and leads to premature failure. The safety risks are even greater. An overloaded vehicle requires more distance to stop because the brakes are working harder against the additional momentum. Handling also suffers, making the car sluggish in corners and more difficult to control in emergencies. Add the risk of unbelted passengers in a crowded cabin, and what begins as a convenience turns into a potential tragedy. Manufacturers list maximum load ratings for a reason. Following those limits preserves suspension life and ensures the car performs the way it was engineered. The next time you are tempted to overload, remember that saving one extra trip or ride can end up costing thousands in suspension repairs, and in worst cases, it can cost lives. And those costs skyrocket even further when cheap parts fail. Number 4. Cheap parts cost more later. At some point, suspension repairs are unavoidable. Shocks wear out, bushings crack, and ball joints loosen with age. When that happens, the choice of replacement parts makes a huge difference in how long the repair lasts. Many drivers are tempted by cheaper aftermarket parts, but these often use lower-grade materials and looser manufacturing tolerances. They may fit, but they rarely perform like the originals. Original equipment manufacturer, or OEM parts, or high-quality aftermarket components from trusted brands are engineered to match your car's suspension geometry and withstand the stresses it faces daily. They cost more upfront, but they deliver longer life and more reliable performance. That means fewer return trips to the shop, better handling, and greater safety. Cutting corners with bargain parts often ends up costing more in the long run, as premature failures lead to repeated repairs. Worse, a failing suspension part can put you at risk on the road. Investing in quality parts ensures your suspension functions the way it was designed and protects the value of your vehicle. Pairing good components with mindful driving and regular maintenance keeps your suspension strong for years instead of months. Strong suspension also depends on keeping rubber seals soft and supple. Number 3. Protect rubber seals. From cracking, suspension systems are built to last tens of thousands of miles, but rubber components remain the weak link. Bushings, boots, and seals eventually dry out, harden, and crack, no matter how careful you are. Heat, moisture, and road grime speed up this natural aging process, leading to leaks and accelerated wear in surrounding parts. Once the rubber fails, costly repairs follow, often running well over $1,000. Fortunately, there is an old mechanic's trick to extend the life of these parts. A product called ATO205 Reseal, normally poured into the engine to rejuvenate seals, can also be sprayed directly onto suspension rubber. The process is simple. Remove a wheel, put the product in a spray bottle, and coat key areas like the power steering boot, strut tops, torsion bar, CV axle, and control arm bushings. Keeping rubber supple prevents premature cracking and protects expensive suspension pieces. For example, replacing just 2 lower control arm bushings can cost $1,300 or more, especially in luxury cars. A light treatment once or twice a year takes only a couple of hours but saves thousands in potential repairs. With minimal effort, you keep your suspension strong and extend its service life. But even supple seals can't help if strut mounts fail. Number 2. Don't overlook strut mount care. Strut mounts don't get much attention, yet they are critical for a smooth and quiet ride. They absorb vibration and noise while keeping the struts firmly in place, which directly affects both comfort and handling. Because they are inexpensive, usually around $20 each, they are often ignored by mechanics during suspension repairs. That neglect can turn into a costly mistake. If a mount fails, the strut itself is next in line, and replacing struts runs up to $1,000 per axle. Keeping strut mounts healthy comes down to prevention. Constantly hitting potholes or driving aggressively can pop a mount out of position, leaving it loose until the next tire change or lift inspection. Another overlooked issue is over-tightening. While bolts and nuts should always be secure, exceeding the manufacturer's torque recommendation can damage the mount and shorten its life. As a bonus tip, don't panic if you hear clunks on cold mornings. Rubber stiffens in low temperatures and softens again as the car warms up. Knowing this distinction saves unnecessary repairs and keeps your suspension in top shape. And a big part of suspension health comes from steering fluid. Number 1. Power steering. Fluid saves suspension. Most drivers only think about power steering fluid when the wheel starts feeling heavy, but its role extends far beyond making steering effortless. This fluid is vital for protecting suspension components such as tie rods, control arms, and steering knuckles. Without proper lubrication, these parts grind against each other, wearing out far faster than they should. Power steering fluid also stabilizes ball joints and tie rods by reducing internal friction. If the system runs low or the fluid becomes dirty, steering effort increases. That extra strain doesn't just fatigue the driver, it pushes stress onto strut mounts and control arm bushings, multiplying wear across the suspension. Checking fluid monthly is simple and saves thousands in potential repairs. Levels should never dip below the minimum mark, and the fluid should stay clean. Dirty fluid is dangerous, especially since it circulates at pressures up to 1400 psi. In that state, it acts like liquid sandpaper, damaging bearings, hoses, and seals. Most manufacturers recommend replacing power steering fluid every 3 years or 50,000 miles. If you regularly drive on dusty or dirt roads, refresh it even sooner. Consistent checks keep the steering smooth and protect your entire suspension system. Your suspension keeps every drive safe, smooth, and steady, but these hidden tricks can make it last even longer. Which of these secrets surprised you the most, and which one will you try first? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.